Okay, hello everybody, and I'm going to work on this hand here today. I did not do a video yesterday because I was busy. We had to take the cat to the vet to get its rabies shot, so wasn't able to post a video. And then on top of that, here I got a commission. Now, you guys probably all remember that commission I had for the boy and his dog. Well, that was the father was giving that to his son for Christmas. Well, the father likes it so much, the father wants a copy for himself. He wants me to do it for himself. So I'm working on that. So what you're going to see is in future videos, you're going to see that me working on that. So that's what you're going to be seeing me. Okay. So, um, so we're going to be working on that when I'm doing the videos. So just so you're aware of what's going to be coming down the pike. So I got to do an outline for this so it stands out. So that looks good. Okay, so other thing also is, and that's also a message for John's Longbox. He's made the announcement I'm doing a story for him, The Printer's Devil, and that one, I got the first page done, and then I was working on something else for him for that, and it wasn't really all that coming along, so I realized I needed to stop. I needed to do some new layouts. So I gotta send him the layout. So John, I know you're gonna be watching this. I need you. I'm gonna be sending you new layouts for that one thing we talked about, and you can give me the green light as to which layout you like, and then I'll be able to start that up. So, I haven't really been able to work on that because I've been working on the drawing of this commission. Once the pencils for the commission are done, and I can start inking that here at the bar, what I'll do is I'll then go back to working on the printer's devil and the other materials with that for you. So that's the reason why, John, you haven't heard from me for a while, or I should for about a week. So I'm sorry about that, but I really need to get the pencils done so I can get to work on that piece. So. But now this is week 23. Week 23 is days 152 through 158. And I think we got some, I got some good stuff here that I posted on Twitter about those days. First day was Legends, day 152, which was Legends number 1. And this, signed by John Byrne, Mike Gold, who was the editor, John Ostrander, and Carl Kessel. Now, this miniseries, for me, this miniseries was done specifically to provide explanation for or resolve some issues involving Crisis on Infinite Earths. Because remember, on Crisis of Infinite Earths, it ended, but the majority of everybody knew what happened. And they knew about the multiverse and whatnot, and how the multiverse was collapsed into one universe. And they didn't reboot all the titles, but they rebooted some of the titles. So, for instance, Superman started with a whole brand new issue, and then the Superman series went to Adventures of Superman. Batman just continued, picked up right where it left off with issue numbers, even though Frank Miller is rebooting Batman as a whole new character, and retelling his whole origin and whatnot with that year 1. And then George Perez was redoing Wonder Woman. Remember, Wonder Woman of Earth proper, of Earth A, Earth One, whichever you want to say, she had died in Crisis of the Infinite Earth, so they brought her back. So how do they bring her back? They kind of reboot and had to erase everybody's memory. And that's kind of the reason why they did Legends, was kind of to fix the mistakes that they didn't realize that they were making with Crisis on Infinite Earths. Where Legends got it right, though, was they used Legends as a jumping on point to launch new titles coming from it, such as the Suicide Squad, and rebooting or starting a whole brand new Justice League of America team. Wally West, because they ended the Flash series, because Flash died in Crisis of Infinite Earths. They started a new Flash series done by Mike Baron, following Wally West. And so and what you'll notice is DC always had the trend then when they would have an event book each year, they would use that event book to launch other titles. And that's when they also got in the habit of having every single title cross over with the event. So, for instance, every single title in DC had at least 2 issues that were crossovers with the Legends event to help, hey, this is the big event book. Well, here, these are the tie-ins to it, and that's what really started. And at the time when they did it, it wasn't imperative for you. Let's say Blue Beetle. Okay, it wasn't imperative for you to read those 2 issues of Blue Beetle that crossed over with the Legends book, with the Legends miniseries, but it gave you a taste. So that way, it's one of those words like, hey, if you like the Legends book, check out these 2 issues of Blue Beetle. So now, of course, we all know what's happened with both Marvel and DC is they'll have a 4-issue miniseries, but here for you to the 4-issue miniseries really doesn't make any sense at all because you got to read umpteen zillion different books. None of them make sense, and here in the end, none of it makes sense. So, but back in the day, it did make sense, and this Legends was really one of those issues or one of those series to help fix the mistakes that they didn't realize that they were creating with Crisis on Infinite Earths. So, and I'm very happy to have all the signatures I do. And then on day 153, we got Legion 93. Because remember, Legion had it set up each year. It went from like it started like Legion 89, then Legion 99, then Legion, So this was back in 1993, and it was annual number 4. This was crossover with the Bloodlines event, and where they're using it to introduce brand new characters because of these aliens that were like sucking the spinal fluid from every ordinary people, and some of them came back, those who had the latent metagene, and they then became metahumans. And it was this story, which was coming towards the end of the annual event, so they're like wrapping things up and telling you the origin of these bug creatures. You had Mark Waid wrote it, Mike McKenna, or Mike McCoon. I'm sorry, Mike McCoon drew it. Mark McKenna inked it along with Andrew P. Poi and Scott Hanna. Found out while getting those guys to sign it, I think it was when Mike McCoon signed it. He told me that apparently that this was a rush job, and that's the reason why there's so many different inkers. Because apparently the person who was originally supposed to draw it, he's in jail for life. He's actually at this point 6 feet under the jail. He had I don't really know how to say this, um, an affliction for kids. Let's just leave it at that. So this was a rush job, and that's the reason why there's so many different inkers on it, because I guess Mike wasn't supposed to originally do, either Mike wasn't supposed to draw it originally, or the person who was originally supposed to ink it. Again, I don't remember if it was the pencil or the inker, but that person, that's the reason why they had to have so many people ink it, was because it was a rush job to get the job done. So, but yeah, I heard that, and I was like, he told me that when he had at a show, when he went to sign it, and I was like, oh yeah, and I hope he never sees the light of day. So I don't know the name of that artist, whether it was a pencil or inker. I think it was an inker. Now that as I tell you guys this story, I think it was an inker who who discovered that this happened. And like I said, it was a rush job to get it. That's the reason why there's so many different inkers. So, but so yeah, and like I said, I like the bloodlines, and I've said it in previous videos with other books signed. I did like the bloodlines, and I wish they'd done more with it and more with those characters. I really did enjoy them. So, and then we had Legion of Superheroes Annual 3. This was one of those annuals which I bought it right off the shelf. Wasn't a huge Legion fan, but this had all of the Legion characters that never really got a spotlight. I mean, it was always like Brainiac 5 and Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl and Cosmic Boy. I mean, those were it was always the same characters, and I got bored with that. And so when this annual came out, having Cosmic Boy and his girlfriend Night Girl, along with Saturn, I think it was Saturn Girl or Cosmic Queen. I forget. The girl she's got an alien body, and she's got a plasma trail that runs out of her hair when she flies. And along with Bouncing Boy and Duo Damsel. Um, it spotlighted these characters, and that's where I was like, oh. And so when I had the opportunity to start getting signatures, this was like one of the first ones for Greg and the first one uh, for Paul Levitz to sign. And then years later, I want to say, when the last 5-6 years, when I got the chance to see Mike DiCarlo, this again was one of those first books I had Mike DiCarlo sign, because I was like, oh, I got to get him to sign this book. So that's the reason why that's the reason why all three of them signed. I had the opportunity, and this is one of my favorite books. So, and then after that, we had our day 156. We had Final Crisis: Legion of Three Worlds, issue number 4. Uh, I've had one opportunity possibly to have Jeff Johns sign books, but he just charges so much. I was like, no, no. And of course, George sadly has passed away. So having Scott Koblish, who has inked George on this, having the opportunity to have him sign it, had to get him to sign it. In fact, this not only was this took the advantage to have him sign this issue, this is the variant cover. They had, because it was Legion of Three Worlds, a lot of times what they did was each cover was like a different character with the 3 variations of the character. This one was just taking a column right down the middle, and George just did his magic and squeezed as much as he could, and that was the variant cover, which had to have helped George because he didn't have to draw a whole issue. But George is George; he's going to squeeze as much as he can, and so having Scott sign that one, being a variant cover, had to do it. So, and this is one of those series where this was like George firing all cylinders. The sad thing is, though, is if you look at the final issue, issue 5, and the second half of the book, just it's not George. George isn't firing all cylinders. There's a double page spread with like all of the Legion members that couldn't be squeezed in to the story, and it was just like joining the fight at the very end. And you could see it just wasn't typical George with his double page spreads. And then the final, like 2-3 pages, uh, you can see where it's barely a George Perez breakdown. And Scott just, he did the best he could, but he really couldn't really tighten it up enough for it to be really look like George. This is one of those deals where it's like, it's George fucking Perez. Um, I know he was late with he was later in the deadline, but I wish I wish they'd given him like another like week, just another week to work on the final like 2-3 pages to finish them up, because they're very painful to look at. So and so, but oh well. But no, I really I have the opportunity to have a book. If I can't get George to sign it, someone associated with the book, I'll do it. Same thing, and you'll see an ongoing theme with me when it comes to getting signatures. If if Paul Ryan isn't alive, did someone else work on this book? Can I get that signature? We saw it last week with Kickers Incorporated. Sam De La Rosa did the inks over Paul Ryan. Damn right, I'm going to have Sam sign it, because I can't get Paul Ryan to sign it. So that's how I roll. So, but that's the reason why I got Scott was, and Scott did a great job inking George. So, and then after that was day 157, issue 5 of Logan's Run, signed by George Perez. And I remember this issue. I remember I was at at a Comic Con. It was Baltimore, and I'd gone. I was just, for whatever reason, between getting signatures, I was flipping through a guy who had like dollar boxes. Came across that issue. I was like, oh wow! I grabbed it, and I just put it in with my other George Perez books to sign. So when I had George sign it, I hadn't even read this book yet. So, but hey, it's George fucking Perez. And what's really cool about that specific book, Logan's Run, was George was just starting to get into his hyper detailed, and that's where and it was these type of book in the beginning is where he kind of got the nickname the King of Rubble, because this is where it started. Where he was they couldn't do the likenesses of the characters for Logan's Run, so all he could really do is go. He went super detailed with everything else except for the expression. The character didn't have the rights to do Michael York, so and the other characters. So all I could do is just over exaggerate the sideburns. Faces looked relatively the same, but there was a hell of a lot of detail and everything else. So and that just had him down that road of that super detail that he's known for. And then, of course, the last day, which was 158, and this was Long Shot issue number 2, signed by Art Adams. Uh, This is where Art got his start with Long Shot, and just how he's again. It wasn't necessarily that he was so detailed. It was more along the lines of you could tell that this is where mechanical pencil was becoming available for artists, and he did that when he had such thin linear lines, and even when he was like doing a background, he was doing cross hatching, and it was very fine lines that he was doing, and that I think is more than anything about Art Adams is using the mechanical pencil and getting those very fine lines, and his 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 line work is one of those where it's like, again, it comes really down to, it's like, his line work's really simple. It's just he textures the hell out of it. He will texture the hell out of a page, and that's what gives it that dynamic, energetic look, is all the textures that he uses. So you think about it, with what I'm doing here with these bricks here, let me zoom in. So with all these bricks, you can see I'm, in many ways, being influenced by Art Adams with putting in so much work with the textures, with the stippling, and trying to vary how I do the depth and the layering of the dots, just the way he does the layering of the cross hatching, and to create that image. And the line work's relatively basic, but he does so dynamic with how he does it with the cross hatching and the textures. And that's really where a lot of people overlook him. They think because he does a very good job with like foreshortening and whatnot. But what really gives him that really good look, you take a look at some of the fancy work he does. He'll have a woman sitting on a iguana, and the woman has basically a basic outline without any details in her, but the entire page around her, the foliage, the lizard has super hyper detailed in the texturing, so she stands out and she looks immaculate because there's so few lines. So, and that's what and as I'm talking to you guys, I'm thinking about how like I need to be doing that. I need to be pulling back and going, just because I can put tone in doesn't mean I always should. So that's something I need to learn. So that's something I'm going to be looking at when I do the printer's devil, is just because I can texture the hell out of it doesn't mean I should. So, guys, I'm having a great day. You'll have a great day. Like I said, as I get stuff finished for John, if he posts it, he posts it. But I will not be posting stuff. I will not be posting any work that I do for John. I'll be sending it to him and let him do the posting. So, like I said, I know I've got like page 1 is done, and I will not be working on any pages or my videos. I will send them to him. I'll take a picture. Maybe I'll do a short video. Maybe it's time lapse. Send it to him. Let him decide if he wants to post it. Okay? But guys, I'm in a great day. I'm going to step away from this, get the work back to work on drawing the boy and his dog, and that will be my demo video for the next few weeks while I'm working on the boy and his dog. So, guys, have a great day. I'm having a great day, and remember, as always, take life one dot at a time.